Hey, everybody, welcome back to Taboo Talk with Sarah, the podcast that breaks the silence, fosters hope, and talks about the tough stuff so you never feel alone. If you're new here, I'm Sarah. I'm a mum of three, a wellness advocate, and host for the conversations we're often told not to have. Those chats about health, grief, identity, voice, healing, and the systems that shape how we live our lives. Today's conversation feels like a continuation, but also an evolution. My guest, Lani Almanza, has been here before, and we've shared conversations on this podcast through Hero Makers, in the Shine Circle, and in the Be Empowered Women's Network. She's one of those rare humans who carries depth without heaviness and wisdom without ego. Last time we spoke, we talked about caregiving and survival, about what happens when life narrows into a crisis. This time feels a little different. We're asking what happens when the crisis is past, when the diagnosis stabilizes, or when caregiving shifts, when the loss has happened and the adrenaline drops. How do we live fully after that without feeling like we're betraying what we've been through? Lani has a new book out, which I'm really excited to read. It's called Beyond the Horizon, a guide for life's journey. And it speaks directly into that space. Lani, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Yes, and that was a perfect introduction because it has been an evolution since we first talked, and just the spaces that we're both sharing now with the Be Extraordinary Women's Network and the Shine Circle. And yeah, I am excited to share where and how this new book came to life.
Yes, and we'll get into all of that. But I'm opening every conversation with the same question. And I think I may know where you're going to head, but you just might surprise me. So what is it that you've noticed in the world and in your life that now that you've noticed it, you can't unsee it? And what does that make you want to do about it?
What I've seen in the world, and it's not new, just in a different, seen it in a different light, is the need for connection. Our world, with all of its technology, can seem very fragmented. Even with social media and everybody on it, it still doesn't feel connected. And for me, that's a very important part of who I am and what I do, is making sure that I'm connecting with people in a very authentic way, and really providing, in what I do, a space for them to connect as well.
So that connection is really important. We were never designed to do life alone. And as you touched on, the really interesting thing is with technology that has us more connected than ever, we sometimes feel more isolated than ever. So I love that you help to draw people back to connecting with themselves and with each other. But
Yeah.
now, your work from like how it has evolved, and I just want to touch a little bit on your previous work. And there's a strange moment that happens after we pass through that crisis and that living in survival mode, because the world keeps moving on, but we can sometimes get stuck.
Yeah.
Or there's not the urgency, there's not the have to get to all these appointments, have to do all these things. And we sort of go, ooh, where do we fit? How do we keep moving on when that thing that has been our focus for such a long time is suddenly gone? So what do you think changes in someone when they're in that shift? They're no longer in survival mode, but they haven't quite got to that next, where do I go from here bit?
Yeah. And I certainly think that for many people, that once you're sort of thrust into the deep end of the pool, in that crisis situation and that caregiving that deep caregiving role, oftentimes when it's over, you don't even know how to come up for air. And so you kind of, maybe you come up, but you're just kind of treading water and not really making any progress anywhere. And I remember feeling that way after my son Jacob passed away 20 years ago. That it's like, I need to get a foothold somewhere, but I'm just kind of treading water in this big pool, and looking for the sunlight or the way to get out and take a breath. And so for me, that was sort of an aha moment. But I didn't come to it right away. I came to it almost 20 years later, 15 maybe, because right after Jacob passed away, I transitioned into being a caregiver for my parents, my elderly parents.
Yeah.
My dad had Parkinson's, my mom had Alzheimer's. And even though I wasn't caring for them in my home, I'm the oldest of 4. And so that caregiving responsibility, a lot of it fell on my plate. And I remember very vividly the night that my mother passed away, after my father, the night that my mother passed away, realizing that I didn't have to leave my phone on for the first time in over 20 years.
Yep.
And that was a big inhale, exhale. Like, I could try at least to start to get sleep, which is so critical for our well-being. And so I think having those aha moments myself about being able to breathe and being able to sleep kind of have become the foundation of the work that I do, the wellness work that I do, helping people to get to those points. Because, like I said, when you're in it or coming out of it, you're not sure where the light is going to come from or where the rescue ring is going to come from. You're just there treading water. So that's kind of where I have moved and evolved in the work that I do.
And you now help people find that spot in the pool where they can actually put their feet down and breathe and just rest for a minute while they figure out where to next.
Yeah.
And you touched on a little bit too, you could finally turn your phone off and get some sleep. I think that's one of the things that people don't realize so much in that caring role, is that you're so busy caring for everybody else that you sometimes forget to do those things for yourself, or don't even realize that you were basically, through all of that time, sleeping with one eye open. You were waiting for that phone to ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the next call, the what if.
Yeah. And if you're not actually waiting for those, your brain is still doing the what if.
Yeah.
And it gets tiring.
It does. And it takes practice to get to a point where you can make that shift from your brain having control to your heart being in control. That, to turn off the what ifs and just sit with it, to sit with yourself. I think I was just on a call yesterday that said, the person said, a moment to meet yourself. And I loved how she put that.
Yeah. Because sometimes when we are running around crazy, we forget who we are outside of those roles that we play. And that's something I wanted to ask you about, is that when those roles shift, like you've been the caregiver, you've been the one holding everything together, then you come to that moment of, who am I if I'm not doing all these things? And that you have to meet yourself again.
Yeah.
But also then rebuild that identity without erasing all of the stuff that you've been through. Let that be something that builds you, rather than that you go, let's just not talk about that.
Yeah. No, that your life experience becomes your credentials. And I think you might have been on the call the other day where I said, if you need extra letters after my name for credentials, It's BTDT, been there, done that.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Yeah. So got the certificate. You know, you can put the initials after my name if that's what you need. But that's my credentials. That's my credibility, is that life experience. And not to diminish any of those roles, because that's what got you here. That's how you learned the lessons and developed the wisdom to pass on to someone else. So yeah, I think it's very valuable, but it's also important to recognize, to acknowledge that's where you came from. And I just this morning was writing a piece that actually it's an excerpt from my first book that is She Is Me. And this woman who is coming home from work and school and picking up her teenage son from basketball practice, and gets home and collects the mail and cooks dinner and does the laundry. And then after that, she's doing homework and then tries to get some sleep before she has to do this all again the next day. And that in those moments, we often don't see the chaos that we're in. And so for me, it was really important to try to develop ways for people to cultivate calm in their day. You know, it's, especially when you're a caregiver, it comes in moments. It doesn't come in a 2-hour massage or mani-pedi. Those are extravagant, sometimes extravagant luxuries, but that's not what's going to get you through the crisis moments. It's not what's going to calm you in the chaos. And so for me, it was just picking up on those little things that you can do in a moment that will create that mind shift, bring you back to yourself, give you the oxygen that you need to think about your next choice, and make that from a calm space rather than chaos.
Yeah. To find those little moments that you can be the calm in the storm rather than getting swept away with the storm.
Which is very relevant right now, because here in Hawaii, we are having very stormy weather. It's fun. This morning was thunder and rain, and then it's kind of calmed for a bit. But the weather report says, don't let the blue skies fool you, because another sweep is coming through. So, just knowing when to notice the blue sky, like take that moment to notice the blue sky, because another storm might be coming through.
Yeah. That's why we get cyclones in northern parts of Australia. And it's they say that the eye of the storm can be the most dangerous part, because you think it's past.
Yeah.
And then it comes and hits you again.
Yeah.
So, it's taking those moments of calm where you can, because they don't always last all that long. But then, and I think it'll probably feed into us talking about your new book about life on the horizon. But just wanted to talk about joy for a minute, because we have those moments where we find the calm in the storm, but then sometimes after we've lost the person we were caring for, or we're out of that prolonged crisis, we start to notice those moments where we start to feel joy, but it can be a little complicated in the, like, actually giving yourself permission to be happy once after that loss, because it almost feels like you're being disloyal by finding the joy, even though they're not with you anymore. And I know in your work you've possibly seen that tension, but now years later, I know for myself, finding that joy and holding on to that joy, and then catching the joy from memories of them, that's not disloyal. It can actually become a way of honoring them and their memory.
Yeah, very much so.
But it takes time to get to that space.
Yeah, it does. And I think for me, it's when people are in the midst of their grief, that's a different place than afterwards. And even right afterwards, I think sometimes it takes about a year to get past all of those the first anniversary or birthday or holiday that you're experiencing without that person, to really then to start to be able to find the joy in the memories. And we made a very concerted effort within that to find the joy in the memories of Jacob and the things, his personality or the things that he enjoyed, and to continue to go to those places, whether it was physical or mental images, that kept us connected with him. So much so that even our grandchildren, they've never met him in, physical form, but they know his presence in our family and talk about him and refer to him. And so you begin to find those little things that you can connect with that bring those moments of joy into the present moment, and then take that and build new memories and connections from there.
And to let that joy be what carries you through, and that remembrance and connection.
And I often share with people that grief isn't a one-time thing that you experience and then it goes away. I like the analogy of it being that, your body is this jar or this box, and the grief is this little, or is a ball inside that. And initially, it's taking up almost all the space inside the jar or the box. And it's not that the grief goes away or becomes smaller. It feels smaller because you start to grow around it. The space that you have around that becomes bigger. And so the grief holds a smaller place, but it's always there. And that, it's kind of floating around in there, and every now and then it'll hit the side of the wall or the jar and trigger a memory that may bring you to tears, or may put you back in that deep grief moment. But it's just a hit. It might be a song. I have a song that whenever it comes on, it used to trigger me a lot, and now it's just my recognition that Jacob's presence is with me. And so, those things evolve as well. So the grief doesn't go away. It's still a piece of you. That person is still a piece of you, especially if you're a mom, and it's with children. Their DNA is a piece of you. So it never goes away. But you grow and evolve into a capacity that can hold that with joy.
Yes. There's still so much we have to learn about grief and how it works, but I love that too, that it doesn't necessarily get smaller. We just grow around it and learn to navigate it a bit better. And yeah, those moments where it hits up against the wall.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I know in the early days, they would take me by surprise because I would be fine. And then all of a sudden it would hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And thankfully, those days don't happen as much anymore.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And now there'll be those things like.
And now when I feel those sort of that hit or that trigger, I'm much more aware of what's happening, and can take a deep breath and realize that it might be hitting hard and I might feel the need to cry, and that's okay because that emotion needs to be released. And then I'm back to my balanced, homeostasis. So it's not to try to avoid having those moments. It's to let them come and go. Emotions, I just did something where emotions are visitors. And so, you can open the front door and let them in, and then open the back door and escort them out.
Yeah. I love that. Because, yes, we don't have to get stuck in them. We don't have to let them stay longer than we really want them to. It's okay to say, nah, it's time for you to look at the back door now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's what healthy remembrance looks like. It's what, when you've moved past that and you can say, yep, I'm feeling that, but I don't have to stay stuck in it if I don't choose to. And that brings us to looking past that and looking at the horizon and looking at what's next. So your book is titled Beyond the Horizon.
Yeah.
And when somebody feels like life's already taken a lot, how do they get to that point where they can go, yeah, but there's still more, and it's still okay for me to actually want more and to look at what that might be?
Mm-hmm.
Not in the way of hustling and not in the toxic positivity way, but in that grounded, honest, honoring what's been, but knowing that there's still more.
Yeah. And I think it helps to just look at the definition of the horizon, and the fact that I would say 99.9% of us on the planet believe that it is round, and that the horizon, if you get to that line, you're not going to fall off. So are you going to stay where you are? Are you really comfortable right where you are right now? And maybe that horizon seems really far away. And that's why I love the image on the cover of my book, because it's at the shoreline. And so are you going to take the first step into the water, past the dry sand into the water? And maybe that's all you can do right now, is just stand there at the water's edge and let it lap over your feet. Or are you going to maybe dive in and go further out and swim with the whales that are on the cover of the book? And then beyond that, is there something further? And that's where I was when the whole idea of writing the book came up. I had written the first book. I kind of like, okay, I've, checked that off the bucket list. And now what's next in my journey, with what I want to do with my Alakai wellness business, and in getting that message out to the world. And it was a book called The Untethered Soul, which I highly recommend people read. But it really wasn't until the end of the book where I came across the quote from the author that said, if you're standing at the edges, and let me actually read it because I always mess it up. If you are willing to just stand at the edge and keep walking, you will go beyond. And it's like, okay, so you can stay stuck where you are, or you can start to take those steps and keep walking. And I didn't know beyond what at the moment, at that point in time. I just knew that that word was calling me to take the next step. And so I think you kind of have to come to that self-awareness of where you are in your journey, your life journey. And are you ready to take the next step? However big and bold that might be. And if you think you're ready, but you're unsure, there's lots of people that you can connect with that can help guide you. And I hope that's what this book will do for some people, because it's written to help you kind of reflect and come to that self-awareness. There's reflection questions and blank pages for you to journal if you choose to kind of guide you on through the seasons of life, through the seasons of grief, to discover maybe what's the next direction you want to take.
So that's the thing. It's going to be slightly different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
For some, it'll be writing that book. For some, it'll be starting a business. For some, it'll be
starting
moving
a podcast.
Yeah, why don't I do that again? Yeah. And that's the thing. It's finding that thing that works for you, that step, because for each and every one of us, there's something that we're meant to do, something that's bigger than just just us. There's, I think I said it in a previous episode, but legacy is that thing that you live that outlives you. So it's that doing those things that you know actually matter. And for each one of us, that thing that lights that spark in our soul is slightly different.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that, even from my first book, hearing the impact that it had on people. And one of the comments I got was from a mom who had young adult daughters. And she said that she wanted her daughters to read it. And I just thought, I'm having a generational impact. That's the legacy I want to leave.
And it's a good one to leave. So for anyone who's listening, they've been through a similar journey to what you did, and they don't quite know what that next step or how to take that next step, is there one small shift that you think they could make that would help start that?
Oh, one small shift. I think for me, and we've talked about this earlier, was that first shift was meeting myself in my breath. That if we really honor our breath and the fact that it is one of the first thing that sustains us in life, we come into the world and we take a big inhale. And when we leave, we make a big exhale. And in between, we don't pay much attention to it. But if you come to that awareness of that it is so much a part of you, that make your breath something that you focus on intentionally every day, that can start to make a big shift. I know for me, it was those small moments where I just needed to inhale and exhale. And I don't know if I even realized how important it was in the beginning, but it became such a foundational habit for me that I really started to investigate and learn more about the power of our breath. So I would say, whether you're in the midst of it or just afterwards, or going beyond, begin with your breath and really cultivating that intentional awareness.
And sometimes it might be learning to breathe again because you realize that you've actually been holding your breath for a really long time.
Yes. And that's one of the analogies I have in the book, and that's why there's whale tails on the front of it, is the whale's journey. And the humpback whales that I'm familiar with here in the Northern Pacific, once they, go for a deep dive, when they come to the surface, the first thing they do is exhale and then inhale. And that, I think that's, we're down in the deep trenches of our life journey, whether it's in caregiving or our professional work. We get down in the trenches of it, and sometimes we forget to come up for air. And by the time you're trying to scramble to the surface, you are gasping for air. And so, again, that importance of that intentional awareness of your breath and the importance of breathing can just become so enriching and create that foundation for the next step that you want to take in your wellness journey.
Do you have any other amazing words of wisdom to share with us before we wrap things up?
Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna, a little bit of whimsy.
Go for it.
A bookmark that I have in my new book is the advice from a whale. So first of all is make a splash. The next one is move with grace and beauty. The third is explore the depths of your true nature. Next is think big. Keep a song in your heart. And if you've never heard humpback whales singing, I highly recommend it. Go look that up on the internet. The next one,
whale song is wonderful.
Yeah. The next one is remember to come up for air. And the last one, I love this one because it says no blubbering. And sometimes,
We were going to.
yeah, sometimes we find ourselves in that place where we just are whining, and it's like, no, don't go there. That's not going to get you anywhere.
No pity parties around
Yeah.
here. Well, it's okay to have one. Just don't let it keep going for way too long.
Don't stay down there.
Yeah. Remember to come up for air.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That is such a great advice from whales, and it's a perfect way to live our lives too, to make that splash, to do those big things, and to just keep going, just keep swimming, and remember to come up for air when you need to.
Yeah. It's, they have a very long journey from Alaska to Hawaii every year and back. And so it's representative of our life journey is like, it comes and goes. We come and go in different places of our life. And we need some of those reminders of how not to lose ourselves or drown along the way.
So I think that's a great spot for us to wind things up. For everyone listening, just remember that piece of advice to keep breathing, to meet yourself, and to get to really know who you are and what it is that lights you up, and find that thing that's at your horizon or even beyond your horizon. And all it takes is take those little steps and just keep moving on that journey. And remember that we grow around our grief, and living fully, going for that horizon isn't a betrayal. It's a way of honoring what has been before. And if you're in that in-betweeny space, you're not in crisis, but you haven't quite figured out what's next, I hope that this conversation gives you permission to say to yourself, it's okay to not know what's next, and to just keep looking to the horizon till you find it. Lani, thank you for sharing your wisdom. I always love when we get to get to talk.
Yeah.
I knew that there was bound to be a big laugh somewhere in there, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And for the reminder of no blubbering allowed.
Yeah.
Because it is really easy to get caught up in that.
Yeah.
Or to spend so much time looking at the past and get stuck in that and forget that there's a big, wonderful future out there. So thank you for the reminder that it is out there, and we can go look for it and find what it is.
Yes. Please do.
So, yes. And go and read Lani's book.
There it is.
Beyond the Horizon, A Guide for Life's Journey. And that cover is amazing.
Thanks.
And I'm pretty sure we'll find it in all the places where we find great books.
So it's on Amazon. And
great.
If you go to my website, Alakai Associates, there's a link there. So I would love
and
to.
I'll put that link in the show notes as well, so people can find your book.
Thank you, Sarah. It's always a pleasure.
So, on that note, I'm Sarah Jordan Ross, and this has been Taboo Talk. Thank you for joining us. Lani, thank you for sharing your wisdom. And to everyone listening, until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember, your story matters, so share it. You never know when your story might be the one that changes somebody else's life. For now.